What's up, DC Nation? Welcome back to another video. And guys, if you like the video, give it a big thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe for all this great DC Comics content every day that you don't want to miss. Now guys, I was planning on releasing my Dark Knight Simone number 3 explain and review video, but I'm saving that for Saturday. But for today, pretty much I want to tackle this news about Marvel and DC actually having a crossover. Like, it's not confirmed yet. Like, still technically, like, a rumor in a sense, but it's been gaining momentum, like with the rise at DC, Marvel. They've been putting stuff on the social media about hashtag please Marvel DC. So they've pretty much had all these writers who've been talking about, hey, what would I tackle if I did like a comic if they crossed over? And it's been really cool, guys, and this gets me really excited if they did that. And the person who brought it up first, or who's been like pushing this momentum, is Simone. Now, she's done Deadpool at Marvel Comics and Birds of Prey at DC Comics, and she's had some solid comics, but she brought up this thing. She's like, okay, with the whole coronavirus pandemic, and the comic shops kind of losing money and stuff, and they need to bounce back and get more readers in, and just to like the comic industry itself, like guys, as you know, I like tackled a video about maybe DC Comics ending after 5G, which at this point I maybe don't see it, but still a possibility. Well, with like Marvel Comics and DC Comics, the whole comic industry, it's been not doing so well. Like, it's the least marketed, and it doesn't get as much money as compared to movies, TVs, so it needs like a boost. And Simone's like, alright, let's do, after this coronavirus pandemic, have pretty much a Marvel DC Comics crossover. One, it will have these comic shops pretty much bounce back from this whole like drought of comics and money from this whole coronavirus, but also it'll get new readers and it'll boost the comic industry as a whole. Now, this sounds really cool, and she brought up some ideas. She's like, okay, these are some creative teams that I'd like to see, like Tom King tackle a Mr. Miracle and Vision comic. Now, you could not like Tom King all you want, but his Vision series was amazing. His Mr. Miracle series was amazing. Like, he tackled their characters so well, and yeah, he tackled them in some similar ways. Like, they both, like, Vision had family, and then Mr. Miracle, oh, he had child. Like, it was kind of similar, but it had different storylines. Now, to see those characters come together under Tom King could be pretty interesting, because he's good at writing standalone stories. Not big game-changer comics like Heroes of Crisis and Batman. He's not good at that. But in terms of, like, just standalone and focused on one character, or in this case, 2 characters, it could be really good. Now, another one she brought up was Thor and Wonder Woman under pretty much Don Gates. Now, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing his name right. I'm pretty sure that's how you say it. But if I know anything about like Don Gates, I'm more DC Comics, you guys know that. But in Marvel, he's written Thor, and that's been like the thing that's been really hype at Marvel Comics in like the past few years. Like, he's been like the best writer over there, and he wrote the whole Thor comic. It was like a big crossover. I don't remember the name. It was something like Between Worlds with like Malekith and stuff. But I don't read Marvel that much. But I know like a lot of people love his comics. He does a lot of great stuff. He brought up the whole thing about Ghost Rider, which was like Punisher, and it was like a space Ghost Rider type thing, which was pretty cool. But he's done some cool stuff, and seeing him actually tackle Wonder Woman and Thor would actually be pretty interesting. Like, I would check that out. Now, the third one she brought up 3 pretty much creative teams, was Bryan Bennett writing a story about Superman and Spider-Man crossover. Now, guys, this sounds interesting, but I have not been liking Bennett's Superman comics. Like, they have not been good. Like, I stopped reading for a little bit because it just got boring. Like, Bennett, I know he did good on Spider-Man. I know a lot of people like his Spider-Man comics. But in terms of like Superman, like I've been like chatting with other people about this, like with his Action comics and Superman. Like, they started out well. Like, I got really excited when Bennett moved to DC. He was like, oh, I'm gonna do something new with the character. He didn't do Batman. He's like, I'm gonna try out Superman. I'm like, okay, this should be good. And then as the storyline went on, it just got dragged on. We have this whole Leviathan thing. It's just been boring. So I don't like that. But maybe if he had Superman and Spider-Man crossover, maybe give him like a boost and make his Superman comics better, maybe. But it's my least favorite out of these 3, because I know Tom King would kill it on Mr. Miracle and Vision. Like, he would just do such a great job. And I know that Don Gates would do good on Wonder Woman and Thor. But in terms of Bryan Bennett, it's like, I don't know, man. Like, sometimes he can do great stuff, and sometimes his comics are just so boring. Like, it's like people hype it up, I check it out, I'm like, what's so good about this? It's just boring. And like most recently, I was told like go check out the Action comics, the recent one. So like people told me, oh, it was bad. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna check it out, like see how bad it is. And I read it, Guys, it's boring. It was like with Young Justice, they came in, they barely did anything. And then, like, Superman, it was like with the Legion of Doom, they came involved. It was just a bunch of these villains and stuff, and like these heroes join in. But you'd think that'd be good, right? Young Justice, Lex Luthor, Legion of Doom. The one girl, it was like Red Mist or whatever, that villain, her join in. And I was just like, okay, this should be really good. I read it, I'm like, this is not good. And the art wasn't good either. But guys, enough of a rant on Bryan Michael Bendis. He's not my favorite writer, and I was excited when he joined DC, but he hasn't been doing so well. So this is my least favorite out of the 3 creative teams. But guys, apart from Gail Simone, there's been other writers who've been trying to push this DC Marvel crossover. One of them is actually Tom Taylor, and guys, his idea is dope. Like, he said, okay, I'll do like a DC's and X-Men Red crossover, and how it's going to be is Deadpool, Harley Quinn crossover, and they fight off Thanos and Darkseid. Guys, that just sounds bonkers and just crazy. And it sounds like something Tom Taylor could pull off so well. And if they did that, that would be just so legit. Like, that would be awesome. I would buy that right away, and it'd just be so cool. And another one who's actually more obscure, but I'm excited about, it's like one of my most favorite, is this one guy, Christos. I don't know his full name. He's one of the writers, I think, at Marvel Comics, and maybe DC. I haven't heard him at DC. But he brought this idea of Kamandi, the last boy on Earth, and the red dinosaurs like that. But no, red Devil Dinosaur from Marvel, them crossing over, like that would be cool. Like Kamandi, crossover from Marvel character. Like, well, we don't get enough Kamandi content as it is. Like, such an obscure character, they don't make that many comics on him. But to see him pinpoint and made as like character across sort of Marvel would just be so cool. And I just want to see Kamandi, alright? Because Kamandi is such a cool character and he deserves more. Now, another idea that got brought up was Scott Snyder's, and his is kind of funny. Like, I kind of expected more, but it's so simple. Batman versus everyone. So think of like, okay, Deadpool versus the whole Marvel Universe. We'll think of Batman versus Marvel and DC Universe. Like, that sounds really cool. It sounds like something Scott Snyder would do. It'd be awesome. And they should have Greg Capullo jump on as art. Like, guys, okay, in the comments section below, rate from 1 to 10. If they made that comic, Batman vs. Everyone, it was written by Scott Snyder and pretty much drawn by Greg Capullo. It had all these Marvel characters, all these DC characters going after Batman, and Batman had to plan it out. How excited would you be? I would be at like a 10. Like, that just gets me stoked, alright? That'd be so cool. And guys, that's pretty much it. Oh, and then Chris Conroy, he's one of like the executives at DC. He said like, oh, if we did this, there'd be one thing I would want. I want to create Gorilla Groot, which I'm guessing is like a mixture of like Gorilla Grodd and Groot. I'm guessing that's what it is. Maybe something different, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And that's cool, but it's like, okay, whatever. Like, you try to tackle like a crossover of characters and like a combination of characters, because we already had like a combination storyline. Like, there's already been a Marvel and DC crossover way back in the 90s. There's one. There's only been one. It was where like Batman and Wolverine were like combined into one body. Catwoman and Black Cat, I think it is, or some other character at Marvel were combined into one body, and they had like combination characters. It was a cool storyline, and they had to figure out how to like separate and team up against like a villain. It was legit, but they shouldn't do that again. Like, do something different. I don't want, okay, let's just combine characters. Like, yeah, we've seen that before. I want to actually see these characters cross over and have like that banter, and they like talk about stuff. They see their daily lives, see how different their universe is. They fight off a villain. Like, it'd be just so cool, and that'd really boost the comic book industry. Like, guys, if they pulled this off, one, Gail Simone, thank you. She started out this whole momentum. Like, yeah, for the past like couple months, there's been like this rumor, oh, Marvel DC crossover, but I didn't think it was real. Because like DC Comics like ending, that at least had like some facts behind it. Like the whole thing of 5G, but the Marvel DC crossover at the time, it was like, oh, it may happen, like in Doomsday Collide. They're talking about, oh, Thor and Hulk, and they referenced a little bit Marvel, oh, with Batman, like, showing up. With the whole Marvel 80-year special comic, it was pretty big and stuff, they had Batman show up in a panel. All these, like, different hints, people were like, oh, it's gonna happen someday, and I was like, I'm not gonna report this yet, because there's no facts behind it. But then this morning, I saw this thing, I think it was on IGN and on some other sources, but they're saying, oh, it's finally building momentum with all these writers gathering together. So all we need is the big big people like DC Marvel who run everything to say, hey, let's do it. Like, that's all we need. All the other writers are on board, they want to do it, so why don't just do it? And do the best possible thing. Because yeah, DC, I like DC Comics right now, they have some flaws. Marvel, not so much. Like that whole like safe space and snowflake thing, like the whole New Warriors, that was bad. Like, I'm not even going to talk trash about that, because we already know how bad it is, so why even dive into it? But Marvel, I'm not a big fan of their comics. So like, yeah, they have some good stuff like Dawn Gates Thor and stuff, but a lot of their stuff is just like cringy. So that's why I don't read it. But if they had a crossover between DC and Marvel, I feel like one, it would help Marvel, because then they get some insight on what DC's doing, they can boost and like change things up. It'll also help DC, because it'll give them a boost. Like, it'll give both like DC and Marvel boost, because it's the crossover. Like, everybody would jump on board. Like, longtime fans who've been like, I don't like what DC's doing, I don't like what Marvel's doing. They're like, oh, they're doing a crossover? Okay, I'll try it out. And if they play the cards right, they keep up that momentum, keep the comics good, and comics can finally get to like that high peak it once was. Because right now it isn't. And I really want it too, because I don't want pretty much comics to end. Like, I know comics will always be digital, but if not that much people are buying at the comic book shops, then I can't get my own copy, and that just kind of sucks. And yeah, digital's cool and stuff, but I like having the copy, reading, and having that experience, and also going to the comic book shops like every month, every week, and say, hey, what's up? Oh, can I get like my box, get my comics? Like, that's just so cool, and it sucked if that just ended. So I really think that Marvel and DC crossover is the best solution, and they should totally do it. But guys, in the comment section below, tell me what you thought about this news. Do you think this is the best solution? Do you think they should do a Marvel DC crossover? How do you think that crossover should go? What should be the villain? What characters, like what other creative teams should tackle other characters? What do you think of like the creative teams I listed, like Scott Snyder tackling Batman vs. Everyone, or Tom King with Mr. Miracle and Vision? But if you like this video, give a big thumbs up, and how you up, girls, subscribe to my channel because I do great G's content every day that you don't want to miss. And yeah, guys, that's the video. Peace out.